I've seen such a transformation in downtown since I was younger.
There are literally buildings down there that are crumbling, that are old. Are there incentives for business owners to come in and redo those buildings?
We're really a community downtown. The Downtown Business Association is very active. You just immediately have this group of people who want to see downtown successful. And so downtown, I think, is safer than it has been in a long time.
If you notice kind of like this stigma of people who don't like downtown busyness.
A little bit of the stigmas about downtown are it's just where people go to get drunk.
Yeah.
To go out.
Yeah, for sure. Amanda, your job at Main Street Fort Smith is one that I would consider to be an incredibly challenging task. It's to revive in my opinion, dying downtown area. Why have you chosen to take on this role and dedicate your current life to this responsibility?
Okay, well, let me debunk that a little.
Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
It is a challenging job, but it's not challenging because downtown is dying. It's challenging because it's just very multifaceted. But that's also what I actually love about my job so much, is the challenge of the multifaceted piece of the job. So my job, in a lot of ways, I get to be a liaison between business owners, property owners in the city. I get to work on incredible arts and culture projects like the Levitate Fort Smith Music Series, mural installations. And I also get to just spend a lot of time with folks that are hanging out downtown,
yes, which
is a really cool part of my job.
Yes.
Now let's go back to the dying part.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Trigger.
I know,
trigger
right?
warning.
I'm triggered. I know why people do say that, and I really do feel like downtown has transformed so much. So I'm from the area. I moved away for about 10 years. And then I recently came back less than a year ago because I love Fort Smith. Fort Smith is a great place. And I wanted to raise my family here. This is where we wanted to be. And of course, my people are here too. So that's an important piece of it, right? But I've seen such a transformation in downtown since I was younger. It was, it was so much about the nightlife, which the nightlife is still popping downtown. I would say even more so than it has been in a really long time. We have a lot more variety, I think, in the types of nightlife. You've got your good old places like Papa's and Arlie Muck's and Old Town, which are still just like, those like classic kind of like dive bar spots, right? That are really fun. But you've got new folks that have come in that have such amazing energy, like at Amigos. The owner there and his partner, who they also have Tipsy's and another one of the other bars, they just have this like youthful energy to them, and they just want to see downtown be super cool. And then you've got like 906, Maddox, which are just a different vibe, right? And you've got Prohibition, which is also a different vibe. So there's just a wider variety of nightlife, but it's really what you see in the daytime now. I feel like before the only people you saw downtown is if they were going to work at First National Bank or they were going to the city because they had business at the city offices. And my office is in the 400 block, and I see people just walking up and down the street now, checking out what's happening downtown. So I definitely think that there has been some forward movement, but that doesn't mean we don't have a ways to go.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason why I really said that is one, to trigger you. At the beginning of the interview, I could see the fire coming out now. Yeah. This is what I wanted. But two, also, I really do feel like I was really coming from that direction, talking about the past, but I didn't want to say it that way because, again, I wanted to trigger you.
Yeah.
So coming from the past, I feel like it really was dying before things like the unexpected happened. Mm-hmm. Things like all of these new businesses came in. And I'm actually curious about the business part of it. Yeah. Because was there any type of incentives, or is there currently any type of incentives to for business owners to bring their business into downtown Fort Smith, or even, you look at all these old buildings, which there are literally buildings down there that are crumbling, that are old, that aren't nothing happening with them. Are there incentives for business owners to come in and redo those buildings and, set up shop there? What does that look like for a business to come down there now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. If you're a property owner in downtown Fort Smith, so if you're looking to buy a property, a lot of those buildings, they are historic. And so we actually have one of the largest historic commercial districts in the entire state. And there's a lot of rules that make a building historic, but there are a lot of tax incentives, especially through the state. There's some federal ones as well. And at Main Street Fort Smith, if anybody's curious about those, please email me, or you can go to our website and email me or stop by my office, because I have a lot of information about tax credits and about preservation in Arkansas, because that's a piece of what we do. We want to obviously preserve the historic integrity of downtown. And there's also some grants and tax credits that if you're trying to take your building, maybe it's not quite in compliance with being historic, to get it there. So then you can get those tax rebates. So that's something for property owners to definitely consider. As for business owners, if you don't own your property, so I actually just talked with a business owner a couple of weeks ago at the Downtown Corner Market, which is on the corner of 10th Street. And it's so cute if you have not been in there. It's wonderful. It's
Corner Market?
Yeah, it's where Timeless Oddities was at the corner of 10th and Garrison.
Yes.
And so it's the same owner, but she decided to open up a new business with a whole new concept. And so it's a grocer downtown. So she does have like some produce and things like that. She's going to be getting new coolers to have like actual like grass-fed beef and like stuff like that. But most of it's like shelf sustainable. But almost everything she has in there is hyper local from local producers, or at least in Arkansas. And she's also very eco-friendly. So Candace is great. I would highly recommend going and checking it out if you haven't been yet. It's very cute. But when I was talking to her, I was asking her, she's been downtown for 7 years. She had a business that did really well, and then it kind of didn't. And she had a lot of success, but she needed to pivot. And I'm like, why did you decide to stay downtown? And one of the things that she said that I thought was really interesting, and I agree as someone who works downtown, there's just, you get immediate community downtown through the business owners and the folks that are hanging out downtown. Like if you work downtown, you end up going to like Fort Smith Coffee Company really often. You go work in the bakery district, you walk around the Garrison Avenue, and you see a lot of the same people because we're all down there all the time. Of course, see the tourists and people who want to come and visit, and that's great too. But we're really a community downtown. The Downtown Business Association is very active. I go to their monthly meetings. They have a lot of participation. So you just immediately get this community of other business owners who are very engaged in bringing more people downtown. Like they want to see events in downtown. They help with the events that are going on downtown, whether it's something I'm doing with Main Street or the DBA is putting together. Like they do a food truck festival, they do a car show, they do several events throughout the year. So you just immediately have this group of people who want to see downtown successful. And that's just like something you can't really get anywhere else if you're just like, you put your business in a strip mall somewhere in Fort Smith. Like, yes, that space is nice, but you're not going to get that community. And then you also just get to be part of this movement. Because I can tell you there's a vibe in downtown. Like, yes. I feel it not just downtown, but when I talk to other people in the community about downtown, there's just a real this feeling right now that people want to see downtown be successful. They want it to be like the cultural and commercial hub of our city again, like it has been in the past. So I think you just get those benefits. And to me, that's a huge incentive, even, not considering like a money incentive.
Yes.
But there's also the other thing I would say for business owners is a lot of the buildings downtown are actually owned by like a group of kind of the same people.
Yes.
Just kind of way it goes.
Yeah, I know. Wait, is it mainly like Billy Westfall? That type of, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Griffins, they own several buildings.
Yeah.
And really a lot of like Gannon Cooper and then Nunley. They're really like the two commercial companies that rent out a lot of those spaces. So I would say that, there are property owners that are really motivated to get new people downtown, and I think would be willing to work with someone like, hey, I have the rent money, but maybe I don't have the money to renovate the space, right? Like I need something more turnkey. So I would encourage someone who is maybe in that situation is really interested in downtown, come talk to me and let's hook you up with the property owner. And they really may be willing to be like, yeah, okay, let me do some of that construction cost for you. And like, we added in like in increments to your rent. Or I just feel like some of these property owners are very willing to work with someone if they see that you have a great vision and you want to be downtown. I think there's room there.
Yeah, for sure. One question I do want to ask you, and before I ask, I'll preface it with, understand that what I'm about to say may not be the person who is your target audience in the first place. And that's completely fine. But I wanted to ask if you notice kind of like the stigma of people who just don't like downtown busyness. And so they typically don't come that way. For instance, like maybe this person they don't like the traffic, right? They don't like the fact that, it's hard to find somewhere to park. They don't like the fact that, oh no, it's not every part of downtown isn't walkable. If that's the case, I feel like it's definitely got to where it is walkable now. Yeah. But have you noticed those types of people? And if so, what are some of the things that you feel like have happened over even the past 5 years that have helped change to accommodate those types of people with that mindset? Because we do live in small town Arkansas. I mean, Fort Smith is big, but it very much is small town Arkansas. So you have these people who are like, I don't want to go downtown, that type of thing. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I have noticed that. And I think the fact that it's a 4-lane highway, that's a challenge, right? Like when I go and I talk to other Main Street communities, because I'm, one of the great things about being a Main Street is we're part of Main Street Arkansas and Main Street America. So I get access to communities, like-minded communities like us around the entire country, not just the state. And I talk to them about that, like what kind of challenges do you face? And our 4-lane state highway is a challenge for us. The trucks, I think, kind of scare people sometimes, which I get. But I would say our sidewalks are actually very wide. They're very safe, and you've got parking in between, so it's safe to walk downtown. Yeah. We've got, there's traffic lights, there's the signals, there's all of that. So I would say that Garrison, even with all the traffic, is pedestrian safe, just for anybody who's wondering. One thing, though, that I think will help encourage people to come down is when you walk around, especially if you're going to deal with like the traffic noise and a lot of cars, you want it to be aesthetically pretty, right? So one, you're going to have all the historic buildings that you can look at, which is cool because there's just a lot of cool architecture down there. But the Parks and Rec department has this new program called Clean and Green, and they have committed 2 full-time employees to downtown that are picking up trash, cleaning out the flower beds right now. They're like actively cleaning it all out to get it ready for new planting. They are, spraying the weeds that it's in the sidewalk. So that kind of beautification is happening. We've also got, there's a little courtyard, kind of like a pocket park that's next. It's in like the 600 block. It's between like the 600 and 500
exactly
block.
What you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
You can kind of, is it that one where you can kind of use as a walkway to cut from the Baker District through the parking lot, through the buildings?
Yes. So if you go, that alleyway is going to have lights and a mural in it.
Yes.
Yes. So
we were talking about this and you had gotten, I think, approved or?
Yep.
Yes.
We won a grant and got a grant match from the Central Business Improvement District for that work to happen. So yay, that is actually in the process right now. And then if you go a block over, there's a courtyard next to steps, and the city and the CBID are redoing that as well. So that's going to look really beautiful. It's also going to make it more accessible to get into the parking garage. Which there's the parking kind of issue you're thinking about, right? So the parking garage will be more accessible. So when you get in there, it'd be easier to walk to Garrison Avenue, which I think will be a really huge help. I also want to say that the board of directors about a year ago started a little project where if you go downtown, you'll see there's a bag on all of the parking meters, and parking is free downtown.
Okay.
And they really like that program. The business owners like it. We've had really positive feedback. So I think the board of directors, they'd like to move forward with just getting rid of the meters altogether and keeping the parking totally free downtown, at least for the foreseeable future. So we've got tons of street parking that is now free. And then you also, within the next couple of months, it's going to be a lot easier to get in and out of the parking garage. So I see why people have hesitations to come downtown, but I would encourage them, if you haven't been downtown in a while, do it. Yeah. I think they'll be pleasantly surprised to see how many pedestrians are walking around, how many new businesses have opened, how much the beautification projects that are happening, and safety projects too. So there's just a lot of positive things happening.
Yeah. Okay, so one question. I think this is the last challenging question I have for you right now, but I'm probably lying. Okay, so you said the sidewalks are nice and safe and walkable. I agree with you. But I guess my counter question is that I wanted to ask you is, what part do you think isn't as nice, isn't as beautiful yet, that you would love to see some improvements in safety or even beautification coming up soon? Or even just in the next couple of years?
Yeah. No. So I want to see the buildings full, especially towards the center part of Garrison Avenue. I feel like most of our merchants, service industry type things tend to like be on the ends. We have a few sprinkled in the middle, but I'm really hoping that the alleyway activation that we're doing, in the 700 block, that getting to the parking lot, creating that pathway between Rogers and Garrison, which takes you over to the bakery district. I'm hoping that kind of foot traffic is going to encourage more merchants, because we have a lot of businesses like offices in the middle. We need more merchants in the middle, because that will just help foot traffic flow up and down, because it's so easy to walk all the way to in Garrison and then back to the other. Like, that is very walkable. If you're going to you can do the whole avenue. I walk all over downtown all the time. I work downtown. I love it. So I would love to see that business development really in the central part of the avenue. That's where some of our vacant buildings are. And even the buildings that maybe are vacant, I would love to see, like, we've got, not very many, but we have a couple that have cardboard, or like not cardboard, but boards in the windows, I want to see that gone.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, even if the building is vacant, I would love to see property owners, really step it up and beautify what's there. And I would love for Main Street to be a part of that, whether it's through like a mini grant program that maybe we could provide, or just any kind of services that we could help provide to get to that place. Because that just helps with beautification. And if a place is attractive, people want to walk around. And if they're walking around, they're going to pop into your shop. So I think for me, over the next 3 years, I want to see more merchants. And I want to see, and I would love to know what Fort Smith wants to see in downtown. Like, what business do you want to see in downtown?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I know, off the top of my head, one of the ones that I definitely would love to see is something more for kids in downtown. I think it would be super cool. I mean, obviously it would have to be gated because you have big Garrison there, but it'd be super cool just a block off, maybe, of Garrison, more towards the bakery district. If there could be a playground or something, that would be just so cool, so that we could park at the bakery district, go get coffee, play in the Fort Kids exhibit, and then go outside and have something to do. Yeah. I know we have, things along the river, but still, that is off of Main Street. Yeah. Quite a bit. Right. Something a little bit closer for kids. Is what I'm thinking. Yeah, no, I love that. And I hear that a lot, that people would like more family friendly. Because I think that
a little bit of the stigmas about downtown are it's just where people go to get drunk.
Yeah.
To go out.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not walkable. And those two things are honestly just not true. It is walkable. It is safe. And people are downtown sober all the time.
Yeah, I would actually say I never would have thought that.
Okay, good.
Personally, I wouldn't have thought that. And I'm an outsider because I'm not from here.
Okay.
I'm only new here a year or so. I mean, I will say last week I had to go record nightlife at pubs. So they did the pub crawl. Mm-hmm. Yes. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. Yeah. But it was a pub crawl. So they had been drinking since like 1 o'clock. And it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. So I can see from that standpoint, but if you're seeing that, you're probably one of the people who are going down there to do that anyways.
Yeah, right. Like that's your thing. That's what you're going to do, and that's available to you.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Good.
That's funny.
I have a young child, and so I'm with you. Like I love being able to go to the bakery district and get a drink at Maddox and then sit there and watch him play at the Fort Kids pop up that they have there. I love being able to walk around with him in the stroller. We have an entertainment district, so that's really nice. Yes. Like when we went to Fall Festival, we could put our beer in a cup and walk around and let him, had him in the stroller and then would stop, went to the kids zone, went to the National Historic Site, let him run around like a crazy person. So that's really nice for me and my husband as, parents with a kid. Like we want to have a drink, but like we got to do it responsibly, but we also like want to be outside. So he's doing something. So I highly recommend people take advantage of the entertainment district.
Yes. And I would even say, I want to emphasize the importance because if anyone's going to do this or are already in the mix, I think it's super important to make it gated. There are so many parks that it's just hard for me to go to with my son who's coming up on 2 years in July. Right now it is March. When we go to a park, he likes to run around.
Yeah.
And it's super important that if this park is going to be in downtown Fort Smith or anywhere close to downtown, it needs to be gated so he can't run outside of there. There's a lot of traffic going around. It's busy. It's downtown. That's the way it is. But I think it'd be super cool to be able to get a drink, sit on the bench, and your kid's playing. You can obviously see them, but you don't have to worry about them running off or blah, blah, blah. You see the entrance to the area where they're playing. So there's only one entrance, even for safety precautions. Yeah. If someone goes in and out, you're obviously able to see them and if they have your kid or not. Those types of things that make sense. And really, Fort Kids, I'm super excited that what Fort Kids has done, even Bookish, that's really cool. So providing things for kids as well. Yeah. But let's make an outdoor version.
I totally agree. Have you been to the John Bell Jr. Park downtown? It's like off the Riverfront Drive. It's not really walkable from downtown, but that park is great. It's totally gated, and you can just let your kids run amok, and it's wonderful. So yeah, I'm just taking notes over here, Joe. Like, all right, we need a John Bell Jr. type park near the bakery district, somewhere within the entertainment district of downtown.
That's the best one in Fort Smith. That park. What's the name of it again?
John Bell Jr. Park.
That's definitely the best park in Fort Smith. My wife goes all the way from here all the way over there to take Asher to go play because it is gated it's huge. Like I feel like it's pretty big and it fits all age ranges. Yeah. Whether you have a little or a kid who's like 6 or 7. Yes. There's stuff for everybody. Yeah. Honestly, I like to go and play. They have like a little zip line and I'll just say, hey, hold Asher, Lauren. And then he'll watch me zip line back and forth like a big kid. So yeah, just something like that. Not as big, honestly. It doesn't even have to be as big, but I know Fort Kids is coming. So that'll be cool.
That would be cool.
Right there. But speaking on businesses, what are some of the businesses that are downtown? Because I'm curious of what all is there. I know, but other people may not know. I feel like most people don't know. Because if I didn't work with Discover Fort Smith and go film all these businesses, I would have no idea about, for instance, like there's I think it's the art museum called Hidden Gems?
Hidden Talents.
Hidden Talents. Yeah. You would never know that's there.
Yeah, on 3rd Street.
Yeah, or even where the big cowboy is and they have the candy shop.
Yeah.
If you're not walking, you may not know, because when you're driving down Garrison, you're more trying not to hit someone, because you're bumper to bumper, or you're afraid of pedestrians, so you don't look around. What are some of the businesses that you can think of off the top of your head who reside down there?
Yeah, so you were talking about Hidden Talent. The owner there, she's amazing. She does art restoration. So she's not only like, selling pieces of art, but she does restoration. So if you have art that you need restored or worked on, she does that, and she's incredible. That is a cute little spot right there where Hidden Talent's at, because you've got Olin and Co. right across the street, and then you've got another amazing retail shop right next to it. So that's all on, is that 3rd Street? Like, now that I'm thinking, yeah, it's 3rd Street.
When you say these businesses, if you don't mind, can you also say what they are so people know? So like Olin and like, what type of business? Yeah.
Yeah. So Olin and Co., when you go in and downstairs, she's got like lots of vintage clothing, really cool, just like it's a resale shop. She's got all kinds of just like interesting knickknacks and things in there. And then within her building too, I think she's got somebody who does tattooing and massages. Like, she's got several things in her building. So Jesse's the owner. Recommend going and saying hi to Jesse. And then if you go down Garrison, so we start at 3rd Street, right? And then you're like, you're taking a walk down. You're going to hit like La Huerta and Rib Room and Whippoorwill. There's a little jewelry store, NC. It's very cute. It's right by Old Town. There's a tattoo shop there too. There's a couple tattoo shops and body modification shops downtown if you're looking for that. There is... oh my gosh, Oculate Brew. I always want to say Brew Oculate, but I think it's Oculate Brew. I get it like mixed up. But they have just lots of cool little oddities and fun things in there. And the owner is super nice. They do tarot card readings and stuff like that. So that's kind of more in the middle of the avenue. I would love to see more folks with businesses like that in the middle of the avenue. You've also there's several super cute clothing resale shops downtown. So I highly recommend, if like that's your vibe, you want to thrift, you want vintage clothes, there are several downtown on Garrison, on 3rd. So there's one in I think she's in the 900 block. So the 900 block of Garrison on 3rd Street, there are 2. And then also on Rogers Avenue, like behind Garrison Avenue, there's another one. So there are lots of resale shops. Highly recommend those. And then the downtown corner market just opened, the little grocer. And then she's got like cool soaps and stuff like that that's made by local artisans. So highly recommend her. She's at the corner of 10th Street. Then if you go behind that to Brunswick, you got to go check out Brunswick. It's so cool. So you've got Rolando's, AJ's Oyster House, and a new pub just opened back there. The Brunswick. It's not Brunswick. It's Brunswick.
Is that the name of the building?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it's the name of the building.
Okay.
So they've got a pub there, and then a new bakery just opened next door to them.
Wow.
Yeah. And and AJ's is delicious. I don't know if you ever eat.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yes. Yeah. That place is like, there's so much there.
So much there.
I think there's like a cosmetology or something like that, right? In there?
And Rolando's is like one of my all-time favorite restaurants forever. And it's so good. And actually, if you go across the street from there, there's a dog park.
Oh, yes. Yes. See, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I think it once you start going back towards that way, you really get into more of the historic downtown Fort Smith, because it's really cool. You have these big, huge homes, but it looks like they were pulled out of, I don't want to say an era because I don't know and I'm young and I don't want to sound stupid, but they're pulled out of the past. I can tell you that.
That's the Belle Grove Historic District.
I love that area.
Yeah.
It's so dreamy, especially if you go like during the afternoon and you go for a walk through there around like sunset, or we call it golden hour as photographers. It's just beautiful there. But they're shopping over there as well.
Yes. So if you go to the Clayton House, which is on 6th Street, it's a museum. It's wonderful. I highly recommend it. It's very cool. The house was built, I think, in the 1860s or maybe it was even before that and they added on. Anyway, he was a judge that worked for Isaac C. Parker. So it just has a really unique history. There's also, and across the street from it is a historic home that has a little art gallery and shopping in it directly across the street. And then you can also do the Bonneville House, which is also another museum. And they're just beautiful. They're also great venues. So if you're looking for like a unique place to have, like my 40th birthday is coming up. And we actually had a friend of mine's 40th birthday at the Bonneville House. So they're just also have like, they're amazing venues. They do weddings, they do all kinds of stuff. And so I highly recommend taking a nice stroll through the Belle Grove Historic District and for sure stop by the Clayton House and the Bonneville House.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up, take a bird's eye view of downtown Fort Smith. When I think about it, it really is kind of like a hive net. I kind of think of like ants in a tunnel. You have all these connections to another place, but like with ants, they all support and help each other within one goal. And right now is to bring life back into downtown Fort Smith because it benefits all of them, right? They all get, they all have an economic benefit when someone comes down to Fort Smith. And Discover Fort Smith is really cool because they're helping bring people in, and a lot of them will tour downtown, and go to the Clayton House and go to these different things. But let's talk about community, because really at the heartbeat of downtown, it really does seem communal. Has it always been like that? Has there been any struggles there before? How did the community come together to be so close to like it is now? Because I really do see people, when I look behind scenes and see, okay, this person is helping this person for free. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff like that going on that you would never know about. How did that community, in your opinion, come to what it is today?
So it's hard for me I've only been here for less than a year. So I took this job right when I moved back. And I love this job. I love it so much. And so I can at least tell you from what I have seen since I've been back, and when I kind of talk to other people about like, where were we at before here? It seemed like there were a lot of people who wanted to do like what you're saying, like helping each other out, working together to create a more vibrant, thriving, economically sustainable downtown. And a lot of individuals or certain organizations were maybe working on it, but they weren't working together. And there's so much synergy right now. So like Main Street Fort Smith works really closely with the Downtown Business Association. We have a group that gets together every single month. That's all of the attractions downtown. So all the historic sites like Miss Laura's, the Fort Smith Museum of History, the historic site, the Marshall's Museum, Clayton House, Bonneville House, all of us, we all get together once a month and say, okay, also the Regional Art Museum. So they're kind of outside of town, but we still love them. They're still part of downtown. Yeah. So we all get together and we's like, okay, what's going on? What problem, do you have a problem that we can help you solve? Or, hey, what events do you have coming up? So we can promote each other's events. So that's just, and like the cities also will have a representative a lot of times that will show up to those meetings so that the city knows what's going on, and see how they can support us, even if it's just like, posting our stuff on their Facebook page, which we really appreciate, having that partnership with the city of Fort Smith. They're wonderful. Discover Fort Smith's the same way. They show up to that meeting every time too. They're like, how can we help support other local organizations? So that in itself is just really special, I think, and something that hasn't happened before. Like last year was the first time that Oktoberfest and Fall Fest came together and combined forces and had this huge event in October. So that's just something that had never happened before. The Central Business Improvement District, the CBID, which is actually not part of the city. They're their own entity, and they're made up of business and property owners in downtown. But they operate in I don't know the exact word. They're not part of the city. They're not part of the municipality, but they have an assessment. If you own property downtown, you pay an assessment, and that money from the assessment goes into projects and in downtown specifically. So that's beautification, that's infrastructure, stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that group has been very active over the last year or so, I think more so than maybe ever. So that's really cool too, because they, you know, they have influence and they have money to try to help create a safer, more beautiful downtown. And that's great for property owners because that's great for business owners, right?
Yeah.
So it's that great trickle down effect. So I think you're just seeing like people who are like the municipality, people who maybe are in power, but also just community organizations really coming together in a way that they haven't done in the past, or maybe at least not in a long time. Like I know with the Levitt Amp Fort Smith Music Series, which is 10 free concerts that we put on every year, I have more engagement this year than ever before from like, we've got the Boys and Girls Club coming out to volunteer and help us MC an event. Girls Inc.'s going to do that. Art Best, you know, where I'm just seeing a lot of engagement with downtown events that maybe we didn't see as much. It was kind of always like the same players before, you know, like certain people would always support downtown, which we were, you know, everyone's grateful for. But now it's like more organizations, more individuals are interested in helping, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. Talking about community from kind of like a different aspect, when we, you know, we've been talking about business and the people who, you know, have their businesses in downtown Fort Smith, but talking about the community at large, how do you navigate bringing change to a community who may not love the idea of change overnight? What type of criticisms from the community have you gotten so far? What does that look like? And if you don't understand what I'm saying is, you know, in small towns, typically people don't like change quickly.
Yeah.
They like change over time. It's almost like someone said this before about a preacher. If a new preacher comes on and gets hired or whatever, and there's an organ on stage and he doesn't like it, over a year he nudges the organ closer and closer to the edge of stage until it finally gets off. So have you had to experience some stuff like that where you have to move slower to not kind of cause this uproar, or is the community just different here? Do they like that change?
I haven't experienced a lot of pushback. Like I do hear some, you know, rumblings here and there of people not happy with downtown. It's not safe. There's too many vacant buildings. Those are kind of the two. It's not walkable. Those are the three main things I hear when I do hear some pushback on downtown. And I think the only way you can really navigate that is through education. Right. We just have to educate our community about what is happening in downtown. What are the facts? So if you like, you know, I've pulled police statistics before for people to show, like when the entertainment district, okay, when our community was actually super open to an entertainment district, which I thought was cool because, you know, you think about people don't sometimes like change, or they're worried that if you can openly drink on the, you know, outside, that it would cause problems. And I had recently asked the police department to pull statistics to see if there had been more calls or issues or crime since the entertainment district had been enacted. And it's actually gone down. And not that that's like the entertainment district made less crime in downtown. That's not what I'm saying. Sure. But I think that it just has shown there has been a trend over the last couple of years, because I asked the police department, I was working on a report. So I asked them to pull some numbers for me over the last like 3 years. And crime and the number of calls has actually decreased pretty dramatically over the last 3 years in downtown. And a lot of that is because the police department has made a true effort to have more enforcement and just more presence, not necessarily enforcement so much as presence in downtown. Like we have 4 bicycle officers that are dedicated to downtown. They're there, you know, almost every single day at, you know, in different shifts, especially during the week. And then they have, of course, a strong presence in the evenings, you know, when there's going to be a lot of people out and about. And so I think that just the police officers being there and interacting with the community and folks that are downtown, that curbs a lot of bad behavior.
Yeah, for sure.
And so downtown, I think, is safer than I'm not going to say ever been, but it is definitely safer than it has been in a long time.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so if I am walking in downtown Fort Smith and you've achieved all your goals that you have wanted to achieve, what do I see? What do I feel when I'm downtown at that moment?
Ooh, I love that question. Okay, I love that. No one's ever asked me that. I want you to be able to walk and feel safe, number one. And I imagine like a sunny day, the landscaping is looking gorgeous. You're noticing how nice the flowers are, the trees are, and the landscaping, that it's very clean, that the facades of the buildings are in good shape, and that several of the windows have beautiful displays from the merchants or, the office buildings. And you're just like, you just have this serene, good feeling that everything looks and feels clean and beautiful, right? And then as you're walking around and you're going into different businesses and you're meeting all the incredible business owners that are already in downtown, they're already there. Hopefully we'll get even more, that you're finding things that are unique and special. So, if you're someone who like you're from Fort Smith, you live here. When you come to downtown, you go to your favorite spots, but then you also experience something new every time you come to downtown. That to me is the dream, is like, you've got your favorites. You always go and visit. You're like, I know I'm going to have lunch at this one spot because they've got like, I don't know, this margarita and, this like sandwich that I just can't live without. But I'm going to go into hey, I didn't know that this merchant was open. Let me go in here. Oh my God, I just found the coolest vintage jacket.
That's so cool.
That's what I hope for downtown.
That's awesome. Okay, so thank you so much for answering all those questions. Right now, we're going to dive into what is called the second layer. And this is a time where we get to hear more about who Amanda personally is. We've gotten to know the professional you quite a bit at this point. So now we're going to be asking some questions to get to know you and your thoughts and ideas on things. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. I was like, is there like a drum roll?
There is music that sets the vibe. Okay. If I had been quietly watching your journey over the past 2 years, how would I describe the person sitting in front of me today?
Ooh, 2 years. Okay, so over the past 2 years, my son just turned 2, so I became a mother. That's a huge difference in life. He's my only little baby. I was teaching actually, so I have like kind of an interesting career curvy path. I was in media for a decade, local news specifically here, actually locally, and then in Oklahoma City. And when I got out of news, I was trying to figure out where I fit in life. I started teaching English and journalism, which I actually loved, but I wanted to get back to Fort Smith. My whole journey teaching was actually, I was in Northwest Arkansas, was trying to get back to Fort Smith because I wanted to be here. I wanted to be in this community. And I was looking I loved teaching, but I knew it wasn't quite right for me. I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I continue to serve my community, but get a paycheck, I need to make money.
Yeah.
But how do I serve my community and do something that, speaks to my skills and my passion, and makes me truly fulfilled on every level, professionally and personally. And when I found out about this job and I applied for it, the first 4 months was like drinking from the fire hydrant, it was crazy. But I'm just I'm in such a great place because I'm here with my closest friends, my family. I get to raise my son where I want to be. I have the home I want, this job. I get to engage with my community in a way that I would never have been able to before. So it's just, I don't know. I'm maybe you say I've got the rose-colored glasses on, but I'm just loving life.
That's awesome. Yeah. How would your daily life look different if money was no longer a concern?
Oh, wow. If money was no concern. Well, I wouldn't quit my job. I like my job too much to quit.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Yeah, no, I love my job.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I really wouldn't quit my job. I wouldn't quit my job, so that wouldn't change. I love my home. I wouldn't change that. I'd like to do some landscaping at my house. Maybe have some projects if like money was no option. I would travel a lot more. I think that's the piece that I'm not like, some people are so good at traveling on like minimal amount of money and know how to like dangle things where they can like, they got this credit card, they get this, and to get a flight for free. I'm not that good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
like if money was no option, I think that's an experience I would love to give my son. And I'll figure out how to do it, and not on any budget. But I would love to give my son those experiences of just, I think one of the reasons I love Fort Smith so much is because I left. I did travel a lot, as a teenager and in my early 20s. I studied abroad. I went to Fayetteville to go to college. I lived in a couple of different places. I lived in a different state. So I think when you leave and have those other experiences and meet other people and like experience a different culture, it gives you a real appreciation too for what you have at home. So I really would encourage people to do that,
Yes.
Even if you don't move away, travel as much as possible. And it just gives you a different perspective on your home and on Fort Smith. So I definitely want to be able to do that for my son.
Why do you love your job so much?
The people, like, that might sound a little silly and cliche, but like honestly, just getting to meet, when I moved back to Fort Smith, people are like, why?
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People would be like, why are you trying, like in Oklahoma City, they'd be like, why are you trying to go back to Arkansas?
Yeah.
In Northwest Arkansas, why are you trying to move back to Fort Smith? People don't get it. Some people don't get it. Some people do. Okay.
Yeah.
But some people don't get it that, there are so many people here that want to see Fort Smith succeed and thrive and not change who we are as a community, not alter our identity as a community, but move into a different future, a better future for everyone in our community. Like making things more bikeable, walkable, being more healthier, being outside more. There's just so many people that I didn't realize how many people there were that want to see Fort Smith thrive and walk into the future, still being Fort Smith, but just an even better version. And that's really cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. If your soul had an age, what would it be and why?
If my soul hadn't aged.
If your soul had an age.
What
would it be and why?
Okay. If my soul had an age. Okay, so I am like a lover of historical fiction. Okay, I'm a big book nerd. So I was an English teacher for a while and I loved that. So I'm like a Charlotte Bronte big fan. Jane Eyre's my favorite novel.
Okay. So you're old.
I think it'd be like really old. My two like eras that I'm most interested in are probably like the mid 1800s. And of course I would like have been in England. Or I'm obsessed with the World War II era because I just think that was just a generation that is so different than like, I can't even imagine what the mindset was of people then. And I think it's either like, 150 or more like, well, no, it'd be more than that because it's like 2024, right?
Yeah.
25. It's 2025. Oh my God.
You would be very old.
Very old.
Yeah, very old.
I'm a very old soul. Super old.
But you're turning 40.
Oh, yeah.
If you lost everything tomorrow, what's the first thing you'd do?
If I lost everything tomorrow. If I lost everything, oh my gosh, that's a crazy question. Yeah, wow. If I lost everything tomorrow. Okay, so no car, no house, no clothes,
no job. You have your family.
Okay, have my family. I would take my son to the park because we have beautiful parks in Fort Smith and they are free. And I think I would just like to sit and look at him and watch him play and think about what I do have. Because I think that's the only way you survive losing everything is like you got to focus on what you do have in that moment. So he's everything. I mean, my husband, I bring him along too.
Yeah. Just make sure that park is gated, okay?
Yes. Creekmore has a good little gated play
really
area
cool.
too.
Yeah. What's one of the things you wish more people knew about you?
Oh, about me? Man, these are really hard questions, Joe.
Yeah.
Like really making me think, like head scratchers. About me. Oh man. Let's see. Well, I love wine, so if you ever want to get me a gift, just get me a good bottle of wine. But I think most people know that about me.
Okay.
Most people who know me know that.
Have we talked about that before?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I brew wine at home. Yeah, and so I have to rack some wine tonight, and I'll have 40 plus new bottles of wine.
Really?
And I already have 15 sitting on the shelf right now. So I'll get you one.
Okay, yes. Okay, good. Awesome.
Yeah.
If someone who doesn't know me well, I hope that they would just know that my passion for Fort Smith and downtown is genuine.
Yeah.
I don't say these things just because it's my job or because I get paid. I do all these interviews, and I talk to people all the time about how great Fort Smith is and how incredible downtown is, and I genuinely mean it. My passion is genuine. So I want people to know that, I think.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. I just want to open up the floor for you at the end here, just to kind of share how people can connect with you.
Yeah.
Another element, I typically don't ask people to do this, but in your scenario, I feel like it's important. Can you also share how people, or some different resources that people can go to actually, access all the stuff we talked about today?
Sure.
Whether it's like your website, Discover Fort Smith, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then also, you can share any upcoming events you would like to promote, that type of thing.
Okay, great. So if you're wanting to kind of get a view of downtown, like what businesses, especially like service industry businesses that you want to visit, you want to like plan out, like you want to go to the historic sites, you want to plan out a little walking tour of the unexpected murals on our website, Main Street FS, as in FortSmith.org. And if you just Google Main Street Fort Smith, it'll take you right to our website too. We have a downtown guide that you can download right from our website. It pops up as a PDF, so it's like really easy to view. And it has a list with a map of all of the attractions downtown. So that's historical attractions, the unexpected murals, and any like merchants and bars and restaurants. So if you're like not sure what's downtown, or like you're not sure how you want to map out your day, if you're going to go spend an afternoon, that's a great resource on our website. There's also an email address on, there's a contact us part on our website. So if you're wanting to get a hold of me directly, you can just go there. That's fine. Or you can email me. I'm director@mainstreetfs.org. Please follow us on social media. We're very active, especially on Facebook and Instagram. And that's really where you can see, what are we doing? What's going on downtown? That's a great place. So that's Main Street Fort Smith on Instagram and Facebook. I also encourage people to follow Go Downtown, which is the Downtown Business Association's that's their social and that's their website. So that's a great place too. They're really good at sharing, like every time one of the downtown businesses posts about like, hey, we're having drink specials or we're having a 20% off sale. They're really good about sharing all of that from all the local vendors. So that's just a great place to see that kind of stuff. Upcoming events. We got a lot coming up. So it's March right now. The Levitt Amp Fort Smith Music Series, we do 10 free concerts a year. So we have a local opener, and then we have a national or regional headliner. So these headliners are, it may not necessarily be a name that you know, but they're doing their own original music. They're on tour. Like they are high caliber artists. And so are our local folks too. We have incredible artists in Fort Smith. Like people would be shocked at the arts and culture scene in Fort Smith. It is robust. So the Levitt Amp Fort Smith Music Series, we start up on April 3rd. We do 5 Thursdays in a row until May 1st, and then we'll start back up in the fall on September 25th and do 5 Thursdays in the fall. All the concerts are free. You can bring your mom, your grandma, your dog, your kids. We have a kid zone. They're at the riverfront amphitheater, so it's ADA accessible, parking lot right out front. We'd really try to eliminate any barriers we can for our community to experience high quality, free live music. And it's on the river, and when the sun goes down on the river, it's beautiful. So I highly recommend that. So those start April 3rd, and I also have a mural installation happening. Woo woo!
That's awesome.
So Main Street Fort Smith is commissioning a sidewalk mural in between 702 Garrison and the B.G. Hendricks, the big state buildings, the big brick building. And so there's going to be a sidewalk mural there. We're hoping to install at the end of April. It's just weather depending. So Tiger Sasha is the artist. He's based in Northwest Arkansas. He's incredible. And you can definitely come out and like see him working. So that's a neat experience for the community, is to watch an actual professional muralist like in action doing a large scale public artwork. So that's really cool. And we're going to hang bistro lighting in that alleyway. So that project's, the electrician just put in the meter this week. So that's, the ball's rolling on that too. So we've got lots coming downtown. And then that's just me. Everybody else. So we've got Steel Horse Rally is on May 2nd, I think. It's the first weekend in May. And then the Downtown Business Association, they have a car show in the fall. They have a food truck festival. So definitely go to their Facebook page. I think that's where they really tend to post that stuff to keep up with that. There'll be fall festival in the fall. So there's literally always something going on downtown.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Anytime.